On today's episode of Fin Too Deep with myself and Neal Driscoll, we got a ton to discuss, a ton to talk about, including have the Miami Dolphins already made a crucial decision in regards to next season. Plus, the Dolphins looks like they could be picking in the 11 to 18 range. We're going to dive a little bit into some prospects we like in that range and a whole lot more. Do me the favor, smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this one.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you coming through for this episode. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Neal Driscoll, and we got a lot to talk about today. Neal, the Dolphins are coming off of an ugly 16-13 win over the Washington Commanders. Now, I get it. You're going to have ugly wins on your schedule. But as I've said, Neal, and maybe you'll agree with me, it's different when you are 500 or over 500 and you get an ugly win. You're like, okay, now they're 6-5. Now they're 7-4. And I get it. You know what I mean? Because they've already shown us stuff earlier in the season. This team is coming off an ugly win when both teams were 3-7. And I will remind you, Neal, remember, I warned you last week, was Dan Quinn taking over defensive play calling duties going to give a shot in the arm to this Washington defense? And Bobby Wagner was playing out of his freaking mind on some of those snaps, especially the Waddle breakup. But what were your takeaways? What were your thoughts of the win? Juju Brents, who showed so much promise, he continues to have injury issues. He's out for the rest of the year. But Austin Jackson looks like he's ready to come back. We're going to be 2 weeks closer to Darren Waller and James Daniels coming back after the bye. What are your thoughts and what are your takeaways coming off that win and about the win in total?
Yeah, look, you said it was an ugly win, but it was a win. I don't think ever traveling international is an easy task. But, it was one of those things that I expected the Dolphins probably to look better coming off of that win against Buffalo. You play with the kind of the double-edged sword all game. Is it draft order season? Is it get the win season? And then you recover that muff punt late in the game, and you want to go down the field and get the win, right? And, ultimately they didn't do it there, but they still got it done. I thought Anthony Weaver and the defense were tremendous. And I think both those young defensive tackles, Phillips and Grant, are getting better every week of the season. And it's one of those things that I would keep a cautious eye on. If they continue to play at a high level, is there a scenario this offseason where a new GM comes in here and says, let's revisit some of those trade talks for a Zach Sealer, right? Like, I think that could be a real world thing. Minka Fitzpatrick is playing possessed out there for multiple weeks in a row. It's good to see Jack Jones get that pick. I think Jack Jones has been unbelievable signing for what you look at from a cost standpoint on defense. And Jordan Brooks continues to play at an all-pro level. And Terrell Dotson's playing better. And that defense is humming, man. And it's good to see. And they got a couple games on the schedule, I think, coming up where they'll continue to play at a high level, especially because of the quarterbacks they'll face. Whatever reason, I thought Waddle had a pretty rough game, a couple big drops for him. I don't think they pushed the ball down the field enough. Devon Achane, to me, still looks special every week. Just unbelievable. Best player on the field for either team in this football game again. He's just he's the best player on this football team by far. But, I continue to beat this drum, man. I'm never going to be upset when my favorite team wins. Like, I live in Baltimore. I watch the Ravens continue to draft all pros and superstars, and they never draft in the top 10. It's not when you draft, it's who you draft, and it's who's making the draft picks, right? So, the draft order thing, I'm giving up with the fact that this Dolphins team is going to have a top 5 pick and get a quarterback. That's just not happening. I think it's one of those things that it kind of is what it is at this point. So be it. We got to recalibrate and say, we're not drafting the top 5. We're probably going to be in that 12 to 15 range, and there's going to be plenty of talent there to select.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts right now on Devon Achane after what we've seen the last couple weeks? Should this be priority number 1, extending him even without a general manager in place? Like, should this be something that they should be dictating to a guy like Champ Kelly, like, take care of him?
You cut out a little bit. I didn't hear the question. I just heard Champ Kelly.
Okay. Do you look at this team right now and you look at how good Achane is playing, right?
Right.
Do you think, like, even if you do not have a general manager in place, should be something you're dictating to Champ Kelly, is extending Devon Achane? That should be the number 1 priority, even if Champ Kelly is still running the show and you haven't completed your GM search?
Oh, I think 100%. Like Devon Achane, to me, it's not even about the cost of the running back position conversation anymore, because he's proven to be way more than that. I think you have to get that deal done. He is, especially if you are going to keep a Mike McDaniel here, right? Like, seems like it's a real possibility at this point. Devon Achane needs to stay here in Miami, man. So I don't care who's making the picks. This is when you as an owner jump into the conversation if you have to. But correct me if I'm wrong, they can't actually agree on an extension with Achane until after the season. Is that correct, or am I wrong there? Because don't they have to have 3 years of playing service before you can extend them?
Yeah, and that'll be 3 years, right?
Yeah, so that will be 3 years at the end of the season. Yeah, I think you have to. Whoever the hell the GM is, that's kind of a good first stepping stone to make with the fan base, because I think a lot of us will be happy. I don't hear anybody in this fan base being upset with a Devon Achane extension, but it's got to be priority 1, and I think priority number 2 is Jordan Brooks, if I'm being honest.
Well, and I think 2A, 2B should be Jordan Brooks and Aaron Brewer.
Yeah, I was gonna say Brewer's right next. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going. So, let's get your thoughts on what we got coming up. Let's talk about the upcoming schedule. Okay. We got the Saints, we got the Jets. And then we could, everyone's talking about us possibly being 6-7 heading into Pittsburgh prime time. Obviously it's going to be frigid. We just saw Pittsburgh took care of business against Cincinnati. You got to ask yourself, when we see the Bengals at the rate the Bengals are going, are they even going to bring Joe Burrow back for that game? I know a couple weeks ago they were talking about him coming back for Thanksgiving because they hadn't lost the last 2 games, especially the Bears won the fashion that they did. This is a schedule where you really, especially if Burrow's not back, and the way that Bengals defense is, my God, Neal. But this is a schedule where really you only probably have 3 tough games left, and that's the Steelers. And the Steelers have been a roller coaster. They've been a freaking roller coaster. One week, Mike Tomlin is, telling reporters, what do you think, when he's asked if Aaron Rodgers played bad after a loss? And then this week, they're blowing out the Bengals. You got the Bucks. They're kind of been up and down this year. And then you got the Patriots, who, I can't believe we're having this conversation, Neal, but by the end of the season, they could be resting starters.
100. I undersold how good the Patriots are going to be.
Neal,
I thought,
but Neal, the problem is we are in Neal, because of that 1-7 start, we have zero margin for error. This is why I brought up, I don't know if you heard me bring this up on one of the shows last week with Ball Game in Richmond. I believe it was with them. Do you go sign a guy like Justin Tucker over Riley Patterson? Riley Patterson, remember, missed that early field goal attempt against the Chargers. If he hits that, we win by 1 point. He had a key missed field goal a couple weeks ago, right? I mean, he's missed a couple key field goals already. Justin Tucker's, the 4th best field goal percentage of all time. Now, I know he's got a whole bunch of drama around him, but you're in such a zero margin for error territory that you need to have the best executors of the best executors available to you. My whole point, though, where I'm going with all of this is, you don't see this playing out where they squeak into the playoffs, do you?
I don't, man. And I think it's because the hill that they have to climb after digging themselves so deep is so tough. If they would have won that Carolina game and then one of the Chargers and Patriots game, I'd sing a different tune here. I just don't think they have because look, I think for a while their offenses look stagnant. I don't think they're going to make that type of run, but I think a run is coming. They're coming out of the bye and they're going to beat the Saints and Jets, and then you get to 6 and 7. You're playing the Steelers, and man, I think the Dolphins can beat the Steelers. I don't care if it's cold. I think Aaron Rodgers with that offensive line against our front could be a breakout game for our defensive front. And while they have Metcalf on the outside, I'm not losing sleep about Calvin Austin. I'm not losing sleep about Jalen Warren. Now, we need to have our offensive line have a strong game against that Steelers front. But could it be the get-right game that a Waddle and Tua need to have together? I think that's a winnable game. I do. Then you have the Bills went in there and handled their business against the Buccaneers, right? And we beat the Bills. I have all the respect in the world for Baker Mayfield, but let's be honest, the Bucs are banged up. They've been banged up for a long time this season. What version of them do we see out there? And you're right. I mean, the Patriots could have nothing to play for when they play us. I mean, I predicted at the beginning of the year 8-9, and that was actually with Tyreek Hill being healthy. So, I was one of the few, I think, that, didn't think this team was a playoff team. If they could get themselves to 7 and 8 wins without a Tyreek Hill, I mean, look, all things considered, for me, as bad as that season started, I'll say something crazy. I think there's fair reason to consider keeping a guy like Mike McDaniel. The team's not quitting on him. That locker room celebration after that game, that team is playing hard. They actually seem more together, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, than ever. I don't know if exercising the Chris Greer demon did something for this franchise, but they have an obvious lack of talent in certain positions here. But it does make me think that if you hire the right GM, you can get this place turned around probably quicker than I thought 5 weeks ago.
You really don't think they're gonna keep Champ Kelly? I mean, I
would hate that, and it's not against Champ. When I had my GM candidate list that I put out 3 months ago at this point, I had him as the number 8 candidate that I would want for the position. I want them to go through a thorough, exhaustive search. I want them to turn over every stone there is. I want them to interview everybody that's on that list. I want Ray Agnew, George Kikinis. I want Andy Weidel. I want these names brought in. Dodds. The young guy from Philadelphia.
I agree. If Champ Kelly gets the job, I've said this, I only want him to get it if he goes through the due process like all these other candidates I want. But we are at a stage right now where the reports are already coming out. They want to keep Tua. They know McDaniel gets the most out of Tua, so that's another reason why they want to keep McDaniel. And then it seems like Champ Kelly has already agreed to collaborate, right? And it's like, have you guys already set this up? Like, is this already been figured out? You know what I mean? Like,
God, I would hate that, because you know what? That's so Dolphins. Like, that is something that they would do, and that would make me miserable, because it would make me realize that it's not better, and that Chris Greer wasn't the problem, because you can't just give an attaboy to a guy for a job well done when you still fell short of your goals, right?
Yeah.
And their goal wasn't to go 7-10, 8-9, and miss the playoffs. That was not the Dolphins' goal. It was the opposite, right? Man, that would leave a bad taste in my mouth. I'll be honest, it's kind of what I'm expecting. Like, I feel like they could bump Champ Kelly, tie him, McDaniel, and Greer all together one more year in 2027. I think that is unequivocally the absolute 110% wrong move. I think out of those three names that I mentioned, McDaniel, if he gets his team to 7 or 8 wins, earns another year. But I also want to see him working with a different quarterback. And, we'll talk draft for a long time. Like, the guy that I want in Miami is a guy that you mentioned a long time ago, is Dante Moore. Like, he is the guy in this draft class that I would want.
I don't think he's coming out, bro.
He's not going to come out. I just read that Levitt's definitely transferring out of Arizona State, but he's going to go to a high bidder. But I'll say this. Like, I think Fernando Mendoza is a cool story. He grew up a Dolphins fan. I like his game. If he fell to me, I'd be interested. I'm not moving up for that guy.
No, agreed. I'm going to tell you one hot take, especially for our offense if McDaniel's here next year. I draft Ty Simpson over Mendoza. You need the better athlete.
Yeah, well, that's why I love Dante Moore. Man,
what are we getting out of a pocket quarterback right now with McDaniel? What are we getting? That's exactly what I compare Mendoza's game to Ben Roethlisberger. A little bit of wiggle, the size, the arm. What are we doing here? I think that's why I think Dante Moore he's the best blend of what Ty Simpson
100%
and Mendoza offer you. Better size than Ty Simpson, right? Better athlete than Mendoza. He'd have a second tier arm, right? Not a third tier. He would have a second tier arm in the NFL. He's got the pinpoint accuracy of Mendoza, but he's got it on the move that Mendoza doesn't have. You know what I mean? I think that would, and his obvious age too, right? Dante Moore would be my QB1. Ty Simpson would probably be my QB2. Mendoza would probably be my QB3. Another thing people don't talk about, Neal, because I know me and you, and I know there's a lot of people watching this show, and I know there's a lot of Dolphin fans who watch a lot of college ball, so I don't want to blanket statement this, but you specifically see it on X, Neal. A lot of people just casually watch this stuff, and like, perfect example, you see people lose their mind over Mendoza and his final drive win over Penn State, right? First of all, where was the love for Dante Moore doing it in double overtime when Penn State was actually the 3rd ranked team and had their starting quarterback? Where was the love then for Dante? All right. Oh no, it's too early in the season. But anyways, number 2, Neal, if you watch Mendoza, most of the time he needs these winning drives because he's thrown a bad pick that put Indiana in a position. And thank God they have like a pro level defense. Let's be real. That defense is disgusting. Thank God they have a pro level defense, because Mendoza does hurt them a lot with bad picks, Neal. I don't know what these people are watching over here. I know it's cute on Twitter to just watch the highlights, but Mendoza is not this. It's what you said, Neal. It's a great story, but he's not Burrow coming out of LSU. He's not Andrew Luck coming out. You know what I mean? Hell, he wasn't the accoladed and the highly viewed prospect Tua was coming out of Alabama before the hip injury. He's not any of these things. And I think people need to temper their expectations, because they gassed themselves up over Shedeur last year because of a portion of the fan base just wanted us to take a quarterback, just wanted us to move on from Tua. And look at what Shedeur looks like. You need to be smart here. right? Like you need to be smart with the draft, and people don't understand that, Neal. They automatically think it's Madden, where we'll just get another chance. You know, like I don't know. That's my rant. I think the Mendoza hype is too heavy, Neal. I don't even think I think do you agree with me? I think Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin have a better chance at winning the Heisman than this kid. Jeremiah
Julian Sayin for sure, dude. Julian Sayin's
bro,
the real deal. Real deal.
And Neal, let's talk about the draft. Look at the quarterbacks coming out next year, Neal. You telling me Levitt is going to transfer? I already knew he's going back. Transfer to a better program? Color me intrigued. You know how I feel about Sam Levitt. Color me intrigued on that. Okay, right. I'm very high on that kid. Him and Julian Sayin would probably be two of my top guys right now. Dante Moore now would probably be up there too. But look at this. Seth Levitt, Julian Sayin, Dante Moore, another year for Lenore Sellers to develop, coming out next year. Another year for Arch Manning to develop, coming out next year. Look at this class. Why would you force the quarterback pick this year? And then, Neal, 2028, your boy, Malik Washington out of Maryland. Bryce Underwood, my boy, Sangapatele under Cal, right? Oh, yeah, CJ Bailey might come out in 27 too, right? He'll come out probably in 27. 28. Look at all the guys coming out in 28 that we can name, right? CJ Carr, Bear Backmeyer, Heinstein from Pitt. Look at all the guys you can name over the next 2 years. The next two drafts might be far more loaded because, Neal, if Ty Simpson and Mendoza are the best guys coming out this year, it's a drop-off when you start talking about the Sorsbys, the Cole Paytons, the Taylon Greens. It's a drop-off where next year you could legitimately have four guys go in the top 10, Neal. 2028, you could legitimately have four guys go in the top 10 if these guys continue on their trajectories, Neal.
Yeah, I think it's time to put the quarterback in the first round to rest for the Dolphins because it's Mendoza, Simpson, and everyone else. And that everyone else, none of them warrant a pick where the Dolphins are going to be. And none of the guys at the top are warranting trading a draft pick and a Jalen Waddle to move up to go get. And that's to get Mendoza, you're trading Waddle and another first. Like that's the type of capital.
No thanks.
It's just not. It's better to be patient.
I'd rather see if Jordan Tyson falls to me, bro, so I can pair him with Waddle.
Well, and it aligns with the Tua contract out. And in saying all this, I still want to say that Tua is still a good NFL quarterback. I think what's happened is physically he's not the same player. We've talked about reasons we think it's why. He's just physically not. He cannot create anything. He's got to sit in the pocket and throw the ball. So I think, when I think about what the Dolphins have to do next, and you always hear me say creating chaos, out of structure. Like that's why I think a guy like Dante Moore that can do that with his legs, his athleticism, his ability to throw on the run in McDaniel's scheme with an Achane and a Waddle.
I would trade up for him, Neal.
Yeah, I when I just said what I said, I would.
He's the only guy I'd trade up for.
I would trade this year's first and next year's first to get Dante Moore. I would.
Agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I would not do that for Mendoza, or I would not definitely do that for Ty Simpson. And that's not a knock on those guys. And look, quarterbacks, it's supply and demand. They're going to go in the top 5. It is what it is. I don't want to just make a change for the sake of making a change because you know what happens? You get another Ryan Tannehill. You get another guy that you're going to get 5 to 7 years for and get stuck in purgatory. Give me a guy that is a franchise changer. Give it to me where you're maybe moving in a Minka, a Sealer for picks. You're acquiring picks, and you go all in on a young quarterback. I'm all about doing that. And I'll tell you another thing I'm not about this year. I'm not about wasting a second-round pick on a quarterback either. I'm just being honest. Like, the Dolphins have too many needs to go try to find lightning in a bottle with a quarterback. Build everything around this team, get out of the Tua contract, and then go get your franchise quarterback. That would be my plan. And look, you're going to see it again. As bad as Tua has looked at times this year, the guy's going to go win 7-8 games. It's going to happen. And I'm not backing off my stance. The Dolphins need to replace Tua. I'm not replacing Tua with guys I don't think are going to be better than him. That's just the way I'm operating. And I don't know. Here's what we've seen. And I'm using the Twitter timeline as an example. I watch guys because their teams suck salivate over Fernando Mendoza when they didn't even know who the hell he was 3 months ago. Yeah. And that you're just trying to make it work. You're being a fan. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have maybe the best arm in this draft, that there's some Carson Palmer, Jared Goff type qualities I think he could actually maybe be in the right system, a Matt Ryan level type of player. But before we anoint this guy for beating a 3-7 Wisconsin team or beating my alma mater, Maryland, let's see what he goes and does against Ohio State. You go throw 350 and 4 touchdowns there, then we can have a conversation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But
I agree with you.
We're so quick to anoint guys, and this is why guys get labeled bust.
Yeah.
The fan expectation, the wave of it. Here's what I know about this quarterback class, right? They polled all the executives a few months ago. 8 votes for Lenore Sellers to be the first quarterback, 7 for Garrett Nussmeier. They do the same poll, just a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
13 for Mendoza. Garrett Nussmeier is not even on the damn list. That tells me that
Sorsby got a vote too.
Yeah, the scouts don't even have faith in this quarterback class because it's a roller coaster. And in a roller coaster down class, when Cam Ward last year has been kind of a bust, I'm not going to say a bust, a disaster in year one, but he's better than every prospect in this class. But
look how bad the team is, right? Like, again, environment, coaching, all this stuff matters, and people are seeing it with Cam Ward. Miami fans are seeing it. They saw it early with Tua, didn't click. If it didn't click with you and you're a Dolphins fan, that's a Hurricanes fan, it should be clicking with you with Cam Ward in Tennessee. Environments matter, man.
Right. We're not
listen, if we had a legitimate top 15, top 10 offensive line and pass pro, I would be saying, hey, Fernando Mendoza, come on down. You know what I mean? I've been saying for quite some time, Ty Simpson and Dante Moore better fits just because of how this team is built right now. But I agree with you. And what have I been saying? I've been saying even when we were in the top 5, what was I saying? If you're not going quarterback, build out this team and go draft your guy in 2027, 2028. This is when we were picking in the top 5 and it wasn't popular. I mean, listen, 11 to 18, you're in the range to get a Spencer Fano or a Francis Moigoa and move off of Austin Jackson, who's hurt more than Tua. Right. 11 to 18, you are in the range. Move off of Chubb. If Falk falls from Auburn, if Bailey's still on the board from Texas Tech, you can go get an edge rusher. Me and you were talking about it. Hey, you can re-sign Razul. You can re-sign Jack Jones. You can bring back Juju. Who's healthy. Storm's healthy. But you want to add a stallion to that stable of corners. A Mansour Delaney. A Jermon McCoy. I mean, there's options to add there, right? I don't know if you heard, but there's word right now that medicals are going to be big. I mean, we're talking about Waddle. That's the range for Carnell Tate. But the word right now is Jordan Tyson might fall a little bit because of his medicals.
I saw that.
And listen, Carnell Tate, people got to learn. Last year, who was I saying, Neal? If we draft a receiver, who was I saying we should draft in that first round? I was saying because of the range we're in. What was I saying? Emeka Egbuka, right? Look at Carnell Tate. Probably the best route runner of the class, right? I mean, we can probably agree on that. What was Emeka Egbuka last year? Best route runner of the class. That translates instantly at the next level. And, we need a number. My whole point is you got to be open to what's going to be available here because now you are in a broader range than picking in the top 5 or top 6.
100.
You no longer have the cream of the crop of these positions. Now you got to go BPA based on your needs, basically.
Right, and I literally put a post yesterday, the top 7 prospects I'd want if the Dolphins picked in the 13 to 17 range.
Okay,
and
who were they?
I had David Bailey, edge, Texas Tech.
Makes sense, yeah.
That guy, man, I'm telling you, the NFL is going to like him a lot more than the mock drafts that I've seen.
Yeah, combine, he's going to boost, yeah.
I have injury concerns with him, Jermon McCoy from Tennessee, but it's kind of like my love for Will Johnson. I just think he is hands down the best cornerback in this draft class. Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I don't have medicals.
Agreed.
Sure, there's concern. Francis Mauigoa, I view him as a pure left guard, but I'm great with that. Moving Jonas Savaiinaea to the right side, having him, Brewer, and Savaiinaea as your interior offensive line with Patrick Paul at left. And, whether you salvage Austin Jackson or not, I really like him. Mekhi Lemon from USC is a explosive receiver. I think the Tyreek Hill NFL story could be over altogether.
Yeah. Plays inside now.
If McDaniel wants more speed for his offense, this guy, I'll be honest, I think he might be the best receiver in this draft, and that's counting Jordan Tyson. And And then there's Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon. I think look, the Dolphins tight end has got to be up that list, and he's a better player than Tyler Warren was coming out last year, in my opinion. And then a guy that I got that I would, you'd have to probably cut it Terrell Dotson. I think Sonny Styles is a name to watch. I mean, you pair him with Jordan Brooks,
could trade back probably a little bit and get him,
right? I mean, I just talked about like how you play.
If you're picking at 11, you could trade back a little bit.
Yeah, when I just talked about how you perform in the tourney, right, when it's on TV, I think Sonny Styles is just going to have a fucking ridiculous, him and Reese. But then Dame, you mentioned the quarterback. And if I had to pick today, the guy that I think the Dolphins are going to really love and fall in love with, it's Mansour Delaney, cornerback from LSU, transfer from VTech. Man, he has been the best cornerback in college football this year. I think those are 7 names that I would absolutely have circled and starred for the Dolphins if they're in that 13 to 17 range, they're going to win 2 more football games. That's 6 wins. I think at the hot or lowest they'll pick is 10. I really do. I don't think they're going to get in the top 10.
Yeah, I think we need a Carnell Tate in terms of that size and that route running ability to pair with Waddle. I think, Fano is going to probably be in that range. Now I would kick in Proctor. Moe Goa is the same size as Will Campbell. I would try him at right tackle. That's where he plays. I don't know about shifting him to the left side right now. If I was going to kick him into guard, I'd probably just kick him into right guard. Just because he's comfortable on that side already, and just keep building Savaianaya where you're at right now. Proctor's the guy that I would probably kick in, because when you leave him on
he's rebounded very nicely. When
you leave him on an island, brother, that footwork is all over the place. I think Caleb Lomo has a chance of going in the top 20, top 25. The other Utah tackle, the left tackle too.
For sure. He looks the part.
Kenyon Sadiq, I think, is closer to Brock Bowers than Tyler Warren was. He's a way better athlete than Tyler Warren was. He's got the size. I think he's way more dynamic with the ball in his hands and as a pass catcher. And dude, I mean, that guy is an absolute freak. I mean, the things he can do, that is I don't know, man. And you know what I'm going to say? If you're going to turn around and try and target a guy like Dante Moore in 2027, getting one of his favorite targets the year prior would be absolutely that would be phenomenal, man. Like, that would be unbelievable. But yeah, man, I mean, this guy, he can bench press like 435 pounds, bro. 6'3", 255. Like, Jesus Lord.
Well,
bro.
And we're talking about round 1, right? And you're going to, the names we named all are really high quality players, but they have a second and 3/3. And you have a really good chance to turn that. They're definitely losing that compensatory pick now, by the way, with all the snaps Borum and Melifonwu have been playing. They're definitely going to lose that. And it is what it is. Like, it sucks not to have it, but they still have their 4th. They have a 5th. Like, after that, whatever, it's fool's gold to me in the draft. It's all lottery tickets. But, like, as important as that first rounder is, that top second round pick and those 3rd rounders are massive picks. And the strength of this draft to me is corner. There's a lot of good corners that would be available in round 3. There's a lot of good pass rushers, I think, that would still be available in the round 3 range. I like a lot of the interior offensive linemen that will be there. I don't love the offensive tackle class altogether. I think there's going to be really good wide receivers in round 3 available. So it's like, you go into the draft kind of knowing what you're up against, right? In terms of positional value, you don't need a running back because you got 3 young guys on this roster, right? They still might probably take one in the 7th round, knowing the Dolphins. But I'll be interested to see how they do it, man, because I think that they have a lot of opportunity to really add 5 to 6 quality players to this roster. And I think they're going to need a lot more than that. But, like, I think it's a really good start on a rebuild. I just hope the right guy's making those picks.
They're going to take Peter Woods, and we're going to like it.
I've seen a lot of love for that. I like Peter Woods, but I don't love him, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
Like, the Clemson team is just, they have too much talent and they've really underperformed. So it's like, how does that happen? Reese is probably going to go top 5 now. I think he's like more.
We got no
he's
chance.
like
That's who I want.
He's like a Michael Parsons type of guy, man, more than he is an off-ball linebacker at this point. Reuben Bain will probably go high, but I here's the thing: my hot take is I don't think he goes top 5.
Well, I think he might get. I think David Bailey has a chance to actually jump him when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I like Cash Howell's a guy we both talked about liking.
Yeah.
He's got short arms, so he'll probably go in the back half of round 1. There's a lot of good prospects, man, and it's like, look, I'm done. I know they're
TJ
not
Parker,
getting the
Ugalele.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma, who unfortunately didn't get to play this week, but there's some good names.
Overton.
Yeah.
There's some names, just like there's some linebackers, right? Sonny Styles, I think he's gonna blow up the combine, but there's also I think CJ Allen probably goes in the first round, probably, huh?
Oh, I love CJ Allen for sure.
Yeah,
I actually like CJ Allen more than I like Sonny Styles. For me, the intangibles with Sonny Styles, his leadership, I think he's the best leader of that Ohio State team. And if you remember, he started as safety and he transitioned to linebacker. Man, he didn't miss a fucking beat. He's a really good player.
Do you think Vega Ione goes in the first round or the top?
I certainly do. I think teams
Ravens
like
are going
Baltimore,
to take him.
Yeah. Baltimore,
of course
Eagles, those teams that love their offensive guards. Of course, he's awesome, man. He's a hell of a. I'll be honest. I wouldn't hate him for the Dolphins.
Well, and listen, that second round is. If you're looking to pair a receiver, if you don't want to take a Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson in the first round, Chris Bell, the guy you mentioned last week, obviously Casey Conception, Chris Brazzell.
That's the guy that I would think would be a good fit for the Dolphins.
Jeremy Bernard, there's going to be options in that second round and probably the first half of that second round if you want a weapon.
Yeah. So Concepcion, man, he doesn't have the most reliable hands, but dude, if that guy gets the ball in his hands, he's electric. Did you watch him this weekend, dude? He was awesome. Yeah, man.
I really like Chris Bell, man.
Oh yeah, Bell's awesome, man.
I don't think we stand a chance though, but it's a good draft class. I don't think it's great. 2027 is insanity. And then 2028 is going to be really good too.
Yeah, but that's where it's rebuild the right way. And I wouldn't even hate this, to be honest. We say this every year. It's really hard to make it happen. But if the board isn't what you want, trade back and get future. Get 2027 picks, man. Add to that treasure trove because that
make it easier to move up. Yeah, make it easier to move up, man. Especially, man. Because that's the year where if you're gonna be 7 and 10 or 8 and 9, and you're gonna be picking at in between 11 to 15, 10 to 15. That's the year where there could be 4 guys going in the top 10. So you might want to move up in that, man.
Well, my hot take is because I think Jeremiah Smith's probably going to be the best player in next year's draft. And there's all the quarterbacks you mentioned. I think Dylan Stewart's going to go number 1 overall for the defense of South Carolina.
I told you what I think is going to happen. I think the Jets are going to try and land both Julian Sain and Jeremiah Smith in the top 10. That's what they're stacking all this capital for. I think next year. I don't think they care about taking a quarterback and and that's the thing. Listen, I'm more worried about Tyrod Taylor than I was in Justin Fields. When they made that quarterback switch, why? Justin Fields is leading you to a top 5 pick. Why switch that up? Tyrod Taylor gives you a potential chance to win some ball games.
But they're down Garrett, man. I think they're down Garrett for 4 more weeks. I don't know, man. I don't get what they're doing because if it's a plan, I see there's a franchise I think that is going to mess it up and. Here's why. I think they're going to beat the Saints. I think they're going to win a couple games that they shouldn't win. I watched Quinnen Williams last night absolutely dominate, right? Mm-hmm. I think the Sauce Gardner trade was unbelievable on there. An A+. Can't get better. Everyone thought just getting the draft picks for Quinnen Williams was a great move. Dude, I am so happy that guy is out of our division. You have to replace Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams just to get back to where you were, which was a 5-win team. Man, that GM better be on his picks because having a ton of first-round picks is awesome. But we know this. Very rarely does a GM that has 5 first-round picks and 2 drafts hit on all of them. It doesn't happen that easy. And the picks they have are the Colts and the Cowboys, that are two teams that I think are going to do some winning. Like Dallas is like the NFC version of us. There's no doubt about it. But they're a team that I think can go on a run here in the back half of the season and make the playoffs. I really do. Like with Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark on the defensive front, and now, I mean, Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are healthy playing again. I mean, Dak's playing good. I think they can go up there and beat the Eagles this weekend. So, that pick might not be a top 20 pick. That, the Colts pick definitely is going to be in the back half. If you remember when we had the Steelers pick in that Minka trade at like halfway through the season, we all thought it was going to be a top 10 pick. They went on and won some games, and then we got the 18th pick, and it was Austin Jackson. You remember, it's really hard to work it out so that you have two top 10 picks. The team that I think is going to have some ammo in this draft, and they always seem to have ammo, is the Cleveland Browns. I just don't know what they do with it, man. Like, I thought they had the best draft last year, and it's nothing to do with the quarterbacks, but like Schlesinger, Judkins, Mason Graham, right? Like, great players. But, man, that just is a franchise. Like, Stefanski is such a good coach, but I actually think that they're at a point where, like, even he's being tainted by them at this point. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't look like he's – like, there's some bad franchises. That's where, like, when we talk about the Dolphins getting a top 10 pick, I'm always a little weary about it because as bad as things have been here, we're really a mid organization. There's some really bad organizations. Raiders come to mind. The Jets come to mind. There's a lot, man, and we're just not as bad as them.
All right, so let's talk about something here. I've been talking about on this channel for a few years that the three most powerful men in the building in Miami are Stephen Ross, Tom Garfinkel, and from my understanding, yes, even when Chris Greer was here, it was Brandon Shore. Albert Breer said something interesting that I'm going to play for everyone here. And then I want to talk about it a little bit further because it seems like the Dolphins might already be making crucial decisions that are going to impact next year. And this might be one of them when you hear what I'm about to tell you. So let me
I think like there are a couple guys that are important too. The president, Tom Garfinkel, and then Brandon Shore, who's their cap chief. I think he's going to have like a role in all of this too. And I know people haven't heard that name, but I think it's an important name. I think he could wind up being like what Kevin Demoff was in LA, and now Tony Pastores is there, what Mike Disner has been in Detroit. These names may not mean anything to people, but they're guys who kind of were stabilizing forces in their organizations. And Brandon Shore is just a name to watch, is somebody who, like, when they reimagine the whole structure of things, maybe it's a three-headed thing, where you've got a general manager who's sort of focused on scouting the way Les Snead is in LA, or John Lynch is in San Francisco with Parag Marathe there, or Brad Holmes is in Detroit. You have that guy focusing on scouting, and then you have, almost like the second arm of the GM, with the cap chief. Like, I think there's going to be a reimagination of things that way too.
Miami, I think.
So Neal, what I've been, have the Miami Dolphins set themselves up basically for Brandon Shore to be Mike Tannenbaum in terms of role, not in terms of results, but in terms of role? Are we looking at a guy who he could be the executive, senior vice president of football operations right now? Because Brandon Shore, we've known how powerful he is already. He's already the senior vice president of football and business administration. Mike Tannenbaum held the role of executive senior vice president of football operations. It sounds like a promotion is on the way for Brandon Shore. Brandon Shore was someone who I actually thought would be given the nod for the GM role, but it looks like, executive vice president, senior vice president of football operations is like an overseer of the GM. He was proven right. He didn't want to give them an extension. He didn't want to give new money to Tyreek. He didn't want to give new money to Tua. McDaniel and Greer went over his head, went to Ross. Ross folded. Ross gave it, and Brandon Shore ended up being right. So, and I've heard, and I've told people on this channel for years, one thing I've heard about Brandon Shore is that compared to guys like Chris Greer, he's actually got a set on him.
Right.
What are your thoughts here when you hear Albert Breer, who, let's be real, man, over the last 365 days, Albert Breer's been pretty plugged in with the Miami Dolphins and things going on behind the scenes. And now, I mean, he says a name Dolphin fans might not have heard, but if you watch his channel, you've been hearing Brandon Shore for years.
Right.
So all these people watching have heard this. Now his name is getting into the mainstream media, Neal. What does this tell you? What do you think of this situation?
Well, I don't think that Albert Breer went into some magic hat, pulled out Brandon Shore's name out and said, let's talk about this guy today, right? Like, yeah. I think there's probably legitimacy to what he's saying and things that he's hearing. And, it's just, forget it's so Dolphins. It's so Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross wants to go to the big dinner party. And at that table, he wants his buddies there. He's loyal to a fault, right? We saw Greer go through his tenure without a playoff win. Like, it makes no doubt in my mind that Brandon Shore is going to be factored into this, that Tom Garfinkel is going to be factored into this. Champ Kelly, if he does not get the pure GM role, will have a associate level title here, right? Like, Stephen Ross, like, I don't think that this wholesale change that we want is going to occur. Like, they might go hire a new GM, but the names that we pound the table for here, and we saw Diana Rossini's report about how it's an attractive opening. It's attractive until you get to the interviews and they tell you, hey, you want this job? Cool, but you can't do X, Y, Z. You got to keep A, B, C. And then that job gets real unattractive real fast. And I feel like, unfortunately, my big worry is we're going down a similar hole that we've been down before that's failed us when you are putting restrictions on someone you're hiring to do a job.
Yeah.
You're not really hiring them to do the job. You're hiring them to do the job that you want with the people that you want to keep. And if that is your mindset, it's never going to work. They have to get the jackhammer out and chisel anything that is left inside of that building. And if they're not willing to do that, my expectations are that the Dolphins are going to be a team that can make a wild card game here every couple of years. And that's the extent of where they're going to go. So I hope that's not what happens. I think that is what happens, unfortunately. And I just hope that, it's one of those things that, like, again, I'm here telling you I want Dolphins wins. For those that don't and want it to get ugly, I can't fault them. They're different than me. I don't ever wake up and want my team to be the Jets. I just don't want my team to be that bad. But that's what I think it would take for them to actually make the wholesale changes that we need. This little resurgence, starting with that Buffalo win, I think it's going to keep a lot of people here.
Yeah, Ross probably feels vindicated that he got rid of the right guy. They're 2-0 since they fired Chris Greer. They're playing hard for McDaniel. He probably feels like it's vindicated, where I've been telling people, listen, the test isn't the Commanders, the Saints, or the Jets. It's when we start getting into the Steelers, the Bucks, and the Patriots. That'll show us if it was an anomaly, the win over the Bills. That is what will show that. You know what I mean? Like, don't let these wins over these bad teams right now, potentially, and I mean, we just barely squeaked one out against a bad team. Don't let these wins, put a set of blinders on your eyes for what you saw over the first 8 weeks. If this team, like I told everyone, dude, I'm not sticking my toe in the hopium pool until they at least get to 7-7.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to get to 7-7 and control your own destiny for me to even think about dipping my toe in, because I'm not about to let the hopium take over. 6-7 heading into the Steelers, cold weather, and it's the same old, same old.
Well, I'll say this, man, and I'm just saying, for any slim chance that they could go on this run, that they could find a way to get in. This is the weakest the AFC's ever been. And I don't care what records show. I don't care what records show. I don't care what the Colts and Broncos records are. They're not great football teams.
I agree.
And, you know, it's one of those things.
No one predicted what they're doing right now. You know what I mean? Like,
you get the Broncos. Well, you get the Broncos or Colts against the Eagles Super Bowl. Might as well give the Lombardi Trophy to the Eagles, not even play the game, right? Like I just like it's one of those things for me that like it'd be ironic as hell if they could get in and win, but I think between the Bengals, Steelers, Jets, and Saints, they can win 3 of those 4 games, 7 wins. Like I think that's their floor. I think 8 wins is their season. If they went out and won 9-10 games, I'd be really, really surprised. But hey, that's why they freaking play the game.
It feels like you gotta win 10 to get in, right? Like 9 and 8 ain't gonna probably get you in.
Well, because of the division we are in, like, look, you could probably do that. I mean, that AFC North, like, because here's the thing: is I've said this for all season. The Ravens were always going to win that division. I didn't care when the Steelers had 4 or 5 games. I didn't have faith in the Steelers. Burrow went down. The Browns are the Browns. Lamar does not look like the same MVP was a year ago. He will when it matters. That's what he does. But they have the Patriots. They have the Packers. They have the Steelers twice. And then they have another game with the Bengals on Thanksgiving. And a lot of people are hoping that in Cincinnati that Burrow's there. Like, they don't have a lot of room for error either. If they play like they did against Cleveland, they're not beating the Patriots and Packers. So it's just unfortunate that I think the bad thing of this season is that we allowed the Patriots to do their mini rebuild and get Mike Vrabel and Drake May. Because what it tells me is I don't think this is the Buffalo Bills division anymore. I think it's the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to have another strong offseason. I think they're going to get a bona fide weapon for Drake May, and I think Vrabel's the best damn coach in that division, and that's why 2 years ago I wanted him and I wanted to fire McDaniel, but it is what it is. Like, now he's our problem, and Drake May's only going to get better from here.
Oh, buddy. You remember who was driving that bandwagon in this community, boy?
I mean, it sucks, man, and it sucks because now.
Dude, remember people were mocking me when I said, watch out, he's going to be Josh Allen 2.0 and he's in our division. People were mocking me, bro.
I mean, he's awesome, man. He's an MVP candidate. I think
I'm tired of being right.
I think Stafford's the MVP if the season ended today. But and I think Dak's actually having an awesome season. But like, I don't know, man. Drake May's definitely in the top 5 for me.
If you're going to move off of Mike McDaniel and things keep going the way the Rams are going, Chris Shula might be at the top of that list, huh?
I see a lot of the love on the timeline, man. I see it. His defense.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here? The bye week?
I hate the bye week, man. I'd rather lose than have a bye week, to be honest. I hate it, man. But it'll be nice. I like to recharge. I mean, I thought last Sunday's slate of games and having the early morning, the Broncos, Chiefs, the Eagles, I thought Lions. It was a great slate of games. The games weren't as high scoring and prolific as I thought, but hey, man, get healthy. It looks like we could have Rasul Douglas, Darren Waller, and Austin Jackson back coming off the bye. I guess Jason Sanders isn't coming back anytime soon, and I guess James Daniels might be a one and done, never play again here in Miami type of player.
Ridiculous.
Big. Austin Jackson, you're under the gun. You got to stay healthy. You got to play at a high level. If not, I hope they release you after the season. He's a guy that you can save about $7 million of cap space with the post junior. I think that has to be on the table if he doesn't come back and play at a high level. Inconsistent, unavailable. You just can't have that. Fragile. But no, hey man, I like the winning. I think 3 of the last 4. I think McDaniel's done a pretty good job overall. Obviously, it wasn't a great offensive performance against the Commanders, but a win's a win. 3 of the last 4, and I think that's a train that's going to keep rolling when they come out of the bye and play the Saints.
ESPN says we have a 1% chance to make the playoffs, so the odds are not on our side right now. That's for sure. So, hey, man, you just got to handle your own business.
We got a chance. They're saying we got a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance, right?
Right.
Guys, do me the favor. I need you to go ahead, smash that like button. All right. Smash it. Get those likes up. Appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. Wednesday night, I'll be live with Richmond and Mr. Ballgame for the finish line. So check us out. And then Thursday, I'll be dropping my GM video. So be on the lookout for that. And then next week, we're going to do a mid-season roundtable and all that good stuff. So a lot of content coming your way. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. And until next time, you're on no time. And it's Phinhub all day, every day.